Ever feel anxious thinking your friend is ahead in career, money, and life? I do too. I keep being stuck in toxic relationships, comparing myself to my friends, chasing quick pleasures or dopamine spikes, feeling stuck all the time. But there's a better way to think. I hate reading books, but I needed to finish this one. This book showed me more about life than hours of YouTube videos or motivational reels. You are always giving. The question is, are they worth it? If you want a practical way to handle stress, failure, and comparison, keep watching. In the upcoming minutes, I will show you how to stop wasting energy on meaningless things and start choosing the problems worth your time. Quick disclaimer before we start in detail, the book name is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a authored by Mark Manson, published in 2016. This is not a sponsored book promotion. I have read this book on my own. I wanted to learn whatever I can from this book because I heard this is a great book. Now, the structure that I have put forth is different from the chapters that are mentioned in this book because I kind of looked at it from my own point of view and kind of figured out what are my own key takeaways. So, for you, when you read this book, based on your unique experience, you will relate it to your examples. And there is a lot of information in this book, by the way. I might miss on few of them, so I would like to apologize in advance. Now, why I recommend you to read this book? It will help you gain a more practical and logical perspective. It will help you ask deeper questions to yourself. It will show you a more happier and comfortable lifestyle. It will help you rewire your brain in a better way, and most importantly, it will help you figure out what you should actually care about. To be honest, I hate reading books and I'm not a book person really. It's just boring. It's just boring to sit down and read a book for hours. But lately I have been thinking to myself, I do lack focus. I cannot sit down for a long time. And one day what happened is I was binge watching till 4 a.m. at night. And that's where it clicked me. If I can binge watch till 4 a.m., I can definitely read book for long hours. In a way, this book has also helped me gain a perspective that why I hate reading books. But then why am I forcing myself to read this book or go through this horrible experience? Part of the reason is I want to increase my attention span and focus. In this age of reels where the attention span has become very short, to do any quality work you need focus, you need good attention, right? And that is the reason I want to force myself to stick to a book, read it fully, analyze it. Another reason is, of course, I want to make some videos that can be useful to anybody else out there like you if you are feeling this is the right choice. Another reason is definitely I want to figure out more about logic, right? I mean, the world nowadays is driven by a lot of stereotype, and logic is something that is really missing these days. And in a way, I'm also choosing such books where I can gain more practical knowledge. Apart from that, I have set a personal goal and I will try to stick to my personal goal as much as possible. These many books in these many days. Basically, that's what it is. Completing a book definitely helps. It gives you more confidence. Pages to practice is not your typical book review or summary. There are a lot of reviews and summaries already available on YouTube. I have tried to relate it to myself and come up with new examples apart from what the author has already given that might help you build a better perspective. My goal for doing this thing is to give you key points, key takeaways, actionable items that will help you build a better life. So I have tried to do justice to that as much as possible. I also want to highlight that I am not a critic. I like to pick up good things in this world, and by reading this book also I have tried to pick up the good things. So I am not going to give you anything negative about the book because that is job of all the other reviewers there on YouTube. I'll also try to explain some core ideas and core themes that are presented in the books in a more relatable way. What is self-help? Self-help books are books written for self-improvement or personal development, basically actionable by your own actions. You don't need any external help. You read the book and you start working on yourself. It applies to all age groups. See, human problems are repetitive. That is why self-help books are not cliche. Moreover, if you want to change the society, if you want to solve bigger problems inside your career or outside your career, first thing is you start from within. That is very important. Nowadays, in this world which is driven by a lot of stereotypes, logic is missing, practical thinking is missing. So, if you start doing a little bit of personal development, it will help you figure out the world a little bit better. That is why it's not cliche. Moreover, how do you read a self-help book? Basically, you start by reading chapters or sections of it. You stop, take a moment, you reflect, you analyze, you relate it with your own life, you relate it with your own examples. Then you draft the action plan. If you see any improvement is required, write the action plan in very detail. Then you start sticking to the action plan consistently. Ultimately, you will see a change in yourself and the way you think about the society and the way you can contribute to the society as well. So this book is for whom exactly? In my opinion, the book is pretty much about age group 22 to 35 because that is the best set of audience who will relate to this book. Read it too early, it will feel a bit rude. Read it too late, it will feel obvious. Apart from that, people who are looking for personal development, people who are looking for taking responsibility without being offended, people who feel they're special and unique, this book is for them as well. People who overthink a lot, people who feel society is not a good fit for them, people who feel they're lazy, people who feel they procrastinate a lot, people who feel you have messed up in life so much that there is no coming back, people who feel life is unfair to them, people who needs a good career transition, people who are stuck in a relationship loop. This book is for all of them. So before we start diving into the major ideas presented in the book, basically I wanted to talk a little about the title, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Now you may get confused and you think you want to justify yourself by not giving a at all about anything. That is actually not the case. See, the subtle art, that means you need to give a about something. But what is that thing? Think about it. You are always giving a about something. If you don't give a about anything, you are still giving a about giving a about nothing. And that is clearly a thing. So, the book's idea pretty much revolves around that. I mean, it's a very catchy title, to be honest. But the primary idea of the books revolves around finding your Not everything is about you, not everything is about your problems, but choosing the right definitely matters. So that's the entire reason of the book. Now the major ideas or themes in this book. I have divided the book into these 6 subcategories according to how people think nowadays and according to my life experiences. We will go through them one by one. They are 1. Observational facts, 2. Consciousness and identity, 3. The counterintuitive belief system, 4. Relationship, 5. Social media influence, and 6. The ultimate reality. Let's start with observational facts. So the first thing in observational facts is backwards law of happiness. Basically, pursuing of the negative experience always leads to positive experience and pursuing of the positive experience always leads to negative experience. For example, think about a scenario where you go to gym all the time. You are taking breathtaking pain so that you can build muscle and healthier lifestyle. You can also solve different problems to find happiness. For example, let's say you have some travel plans. Rather than relying on somebody else to find the best route, what you do is you try to sit down on your computer and try to find the best route possible, best travel plan you make by yourself. So at the end of that, you will definitely feel happiness. So if you keep on solving problems, that will automatically leads to happiness. So the more negative experience you try to think of, the better the positive experience you will get. Next is always try to find better problems to solve. For example, so the other day I was sitting in a pavement. It was a public pavement but in front of somebody else's house. Now the uncle over there was handling a shop. So whenever he sees me, he always tries to tell me off saying you cannot sit over here. So think about it. If he would have had some better problems to deal with in his life, why would he bother talking to me or removing me from that pavement, right? That would not happen. The reason is because he doesn't have anything better to do. He sits there all day in the shop, wandering and selling his stuff. Definitely he will come and whoever is around him, he will try to poke them in some way or other. because he doesn't have anything better to do. Now, I can remember another example of Zakir Khan. I think he said it on some podcast or maybe some interview. If you want to become the prime minister, why bother yourself in small things? So if you keep your gaze high, if you try to solve the bigger problem, automatically the smaller problems will fall out and you won't be bothered by them. Next in observational facts is the feedback loop from hell, or as I call it, the devil's loop. Basically, when you are sad or when you are anxious, what you will notice is thinking about that sadness or thinking that you are anxious, you keep on getting more and more anxious. And that again puts you in a deep depression mode or deep sadness mode. When you are angry, sometimes you will see that thinking about you being angry makes you more angry, because if you see, you will ask yourself question, why I am being angry, I am being a rude jerk and all, and that will further increase the negative experience. So this is basically called the feedback loop from hell, or in my own words, the devil's loop. So this is another observational fact. Ideally what happens is when you want to get out of such a loop, you need some kind of external influence. For example, moment you notice, okay, you are getting into that loop, you consciously stop and you say, okay, I need to get out of it. So you think something else, and that way you can get out of this loop. So I remember I used to watch this anime called Naruto. There used to be something called Genjutsu. Genjutsu is an imaginary world where people put you in a mental loop. Now to come out of the Genjutsu, you need a sudden shock from outside. So the devil's loop is like that. You can also be with a friend or a family. They can also stop you or halt you if you are getting into that loop. But if you are by yourself, you can always create a shock from within. Say to yourself, get out of it, and then you can come out of it. So that is how you can break the devil's loop. Another observational fact is emotions are signal. They should not be used as decision maker. Think about it. Whenever you are in a bad situation, imagine you got scolded by your parents. Imagine you got scolded by your teachers. Imagine you are in a complicated situation. Imagine traffic police caught you. You may feel angry, you may feel anxious, you may feel sad, you may feel exciting also sometimes. But in the same situation, if you let that emotion drive you, then you may be doing something wrong. Understand the reason of the emotion. Think peacefully, think calmly, and then take the decision. Sometimes in extreme sadness or extreme anger, we do or tell some things to other people that is irreversible. Emotions are only signals. Use them like that. If there is an emotion, yes, there is something wrong. Maybe you are stuck in a situation, maybe you are not liking it, but you cannot use that to be a decision maker. Another observational fact is most of the people chase emotional highs or temporary dopamine spike rather than long-term happiness. Now some example I will read it out loud. Scrolling social media instead of learning a new skill, quitting a job emotionally without a plan, buying things to feel successful even if you don't have any money, avoiding feedback to protect ego, or eating a burger to feel full, switching goals every time your motivation drops, partying every weekend to escape a bad work week. Choosing long-term happiness definitely feels hard, but it pays later. Some of the long-term happiness examples are studying or upskilling after work, staying in a tough job while preparing for a better one, saving or investing instead of impulse spending, asking for honest feedback and fixing weak spots, eating healthier food. You can eat something like salad or something, because eating a burger is definitely unhealthy. Sticking to one goal long enough to get results. Resting with intention, not escaping with distraction. Another observational fact that the author has highlighted and I kind of related to it is the procrastination loop. So ideally what happens is whenever we want to start something new, you get inspiration and suddenly you get motivated and you start working. You may stop working at some point of time. The reason is not you didn't have enough inspiration or you didn't have enough motivation, but rather procrastination. How our human mind works. See, if you always think and don't do anything, that motivation or inspiration will not last. Remember, inspiration is a long-term thing. Let's say you are looking at a sunset, you are getting inspired suddenly. Motivation is a short-term burst of inspiration. Say in the morning you are feeling motivated to do something. That's the basically difference between inspiration and motivation. Now ideally, if you start with inspiration or motivation, your action may not last, because that's how the human mind works. But if you just do something, if you start with action, then you will see by completing a small task or a simple action, you will automatically feel motivated, and if you keep on doing that again and again, your inspiration will stick with you. Rather than starting with inspiration, always start with action. Basically, the author calls it the do something principle. Rather than sitting, you just start working, you do something. Automatically, motivation and inspiration will follow. Let's talk about another observational fact. Most of the observational facts is something that hit me differently in a way. When you read the book, you may get some additional observational facts. So the next one is the hedonic treadmill. What it says is, what will excite you today will become normal tomorrow. For example, you get a salary hike, you feel great for a month, then the expenses rise, stress comes back again. So there is no point in getting a salary hike in that way. You buy a new phone, excitement for a week only, then it becomes normal. You keep on chasing expensive phones then on. You land on a better job title, your ego get boosted. Now you want the next one. You get more followers or like, your dopamine hit. Now soon it's not enough. You need to chase for more likes, more social validation. You move to a bigger house, feels amazing, becomes the new baseline. Then you try to go for even bigger house, even if your necessity is fulfilled. You finally take that vacation, go for it for a week, but again you come back Monday, again you are feeling stuck with work. This is basically all the examples of hedonic treadmills, chasing temporary highs again and again. Now let's go to the next thing, which is consciousness and identity. Now what the author says is, imagine yourself as an onion, a self-awareness onion. The more you peel the onion, the more smelly it becomes. Basically there are 3 layers in this self-awareness onion. First layer is asking yourself what kind of emotions you are feeling. Second layer is why you are feeling such an emotion. And third layer is, which is the most inside, is the value system. What kind of value is making you feel such an emotion? Now the value has 2 things. One is more of a conceptual thing, the second is more of a metric thing. For example, if you see success as a value, the metric to define success might be how much salary you are earning. If you see happiness as a value, the metric can be how many vacations you are taking in a month. Let me give you a good example of a good value. Honesty, if you think as a value, a metric can be how much truth you tell most of the times in your life. So now let me explain the self-awareness onion with my own example. The scenario is me procrastinating work. Now, if I think about what kind of feeling I am having or what emotions I have whenever I procrastinate, I feel either lazy or I feel tired. Now then the next question is, why am I feeling like that? Maybe the task that I have undertaken has a lot of things to do. Maybe I am feeling overwhelmed. Next is asking myself, what underlying value system does giving me that kind of feeling? Somewhere maybe I think if my skills are not good enough, the work might not be as perfect. Somewhere I think if I wait to start, maybe I'll be ready with all the things, then I will start. Maybe staying in a comfortable situation is more important than being in an uncomfortable situation. So these are my values. So if I want to change my procrastination habit, what kind of better values I can think of? One thing is definitely forget about the quality, just keep doing, keep working. Secondly, if I am not able to start, then I should just sit down for 5 to 10 minutes, try to do a small thing, maybe make a small Excel sheet or maybe write down a few points. Then maybe my entire system will change. Scenario 2 is feeling jealous or envious of your peers' success or progression. Now what kind of feeling I am getting? Obviously you are feeling jealous or uneasy. Why I am feeling like that? Because one of my peer with whom I used to work for a long time got a better salary hike or a better job in somewhere else. What kind of value system I am talking about? Here the value system is simple. You are considering salary hike equivalent to success. Rather than that, what else can I choose? Instead of salary hike, maybe it is more about happiness. Maybe it is more about building a new skill. Maybe it is more about being at peace. Higher salary definitely comes with heavier headaches. Do I really want that? Do I want to have a simple lifestyle? Do I want to have an ambition driven lifestyle? In such cases, maybe the value system that I had, that success is equivalent to more salary, might not really work. So this is how you look at a self-awareness onion. You peel each and every layer by asking yourself a question. The third layer of the self-awareness onion is values. I think the author has put the entire book on value system only, because everything that is written in the book is primarily based on value. And somewhere, if you think about it, personal development starts with recognizing yourself, recognizing your values, what is inside your core. Now let's understand the importance of value. I'll give you some example. Values guide decision when motivation is gone. You don't feel like going to the gym, you don't feel like working out, but still you know discipline is the value that you are working towards, so you still show up. Values help you choose between different options. Say you have two options, one is choosing between a higher paying job and the second is choosing a learning heavy job. So which one will you choose? If you value skill more than salary, then you will definitely choose the learning heavy job. Value reduce confusion and overthinking. You will stop chasing status once you are clear on what is your success parameter. Values will shape your habits naturally. If health is the value that you have, then you won't feel tired to go to the gym or working out. If skill is the value you have, you will not get tired working late nights learning a new skill. Values turn pain into purpose. If you have a goal in your life, if you are an ambitious person, then whatever pain you get along the way pursuing that purpose, you will not feel tired. You will not feel any pain. So there is a way you can segregate between good values and bad values. Good values are normally controllable and immediate, whereas bad values are uncontrollable and takes a lot of time. Imagine money. Money can be a bad value and skill can be a good value. If you want to choose a bad value, then you would have to wait long time because it is not immediate. Whereas if you choose skill as a value, the actions are immediate. You can start working on it immediately. Good values are normally socially constructive, whereas bad values are socially destructive. If you work on a skill, maybe there is a possibility you will impact many people in the future. Whereas if you chase money all the time, there's a possibility you will hamper somebody else's peace. You may risk breaking your social connections that you have. Another characteristics can be a good value is controllable, whereas a bad value is uncontrollable. Skill, if you consider as a good value, everything that you learn within that skill is within you. You can start working on it, you can start learning a new thing. Whereas money, if you consider, is uncontrollable. You can try to earn more, but there is no saying if it will come or not. That is how you separate bad values and good values. Next thing I will talk about is identity. Understand that you are not special. You are a human and there are billions of people on this planet. The problems that you are facing, many of the people are already facing them. That is why you are not special. You are just entitled. There are some classic signs of entitlement that you can look at. They are denial, victim mentality, I am awesome, I don't deserve anything, being offended by anything and everything. People who think they are entitled think the world revolves around them. Narcissism can be called a form of entitlement also. How do you get out of this entitlement? One thing is you understand that you are not special. The world doesn't revolve around you. Your actions are nothing but just minuscule activities in the grand scheme of events that are happening around the world. Here I would also like to talk about Manson's law of avoidance. Yes, you guessed it right. Mark Manson is the name of author. He has only coined this. Manson's law of avoidance states, the more something that threatens your identity, the more you will try to avoid it. Basically, sitting in the comfortable place where you are already. This is actually one of the reasons many people do not leave their job and stay in the same comfort zone where they get 3%, 4%, 6% salary hikes rather than taking risk to challenge their beliefs, to challenge their ability and getting into something better in life. One more example that I can relate to is my own procrastination. I know that I have a lot of work to do. I know there are many things I need to deal with. But still, by being overwhelmed or whatever reason possible, I sit at my own comfort, trying to wait for the right time to start, trying to avoid any uncomfortable conversation where people will question my abilities, because I am familiar with the comfort bubble that I have created. And many people will relate to this as well. Now the next thing I would like to talk about is the counterintuitive belief system. There are 5 categories to it. They are fault, failure and pain, rejection and uncertainty. Now why I call it counterintuitive? Because it follows the backward law. What is backward law? Chasing of negative experience give you positive experience. Now the author has also included death in this counterintuitive belief system, but I have not. The reason is, while the other 5 seems to be together, works as a belief system, death is a reality. Realizing the reality is a bit different compared to realizing the belief systems. That is why I have categorized it separately as a different theme. Let's start with the first negative experience, which is fault. You have to understand one thing. Fault is not something that is in your control. Sometimes, say you are driving on road on your bike. There is a pothole and you fell from the pothole. It is not your fault that the pothole is present over there. But it is your responsibility to get back up, go to the hospital, take care of yourself. Similarly, flights getting cancelled randomly is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to take care of your emotional health and get back on your feet. Responsibility comes from a choice. End of the day, whenever you choose something, from that choice, whether something positive comes or whether something negative comes, it becomes your responsibility to take care of it. Fault is something past, responsibility is something present. If you understand these two things, then there will be more clarity. Ideally, what you should strive for is taking responsibility for your actions. There are always things that you need to choose. Whenever you choose, that responsibility tags along with you of your choice. Now let's talk about the next negative experience, which is failure and pain. Pain is always there. Suffering is also always there. Now it is up to you how you utilize that suffering and pain. You can suffer by waking up early, or you can suffer later in life with your knee pain. You can suffer by asking uncomfortable questions at work, or you can suffer by not getting a good growth. Rather than asking yourself what you want in life, you should ask yourself what you are willing to suffer in life. Because as you keep on failing more and more, you will grow stronger and stronger. The more pain you undertake, the stronger or better growth you get. Imagine 2 sports people. One is better at the game, the other one is not that much. Now practically, if you think about it, the person who is better at it has failed so many times, but the person who is not that good perhaps has not practiced enough, perhaps has not failed enough. That is why this sports person is better than this person. The more you take failure within you, the better you will get at anything. The next negative experience is rejection. Rejection means both saying and hearing no. When you say no, you set up boundaries, which in turn gives you respect. When you hear no, you realize what is wrong with your skill set or something else. That is where you try to work on yourself or you improve yourself. Imagine in your workplace, why the other person getting promoted again and again, whereas you are still stuck at your own place. You can go to your manager, ask them the question that I want to grow, I want better salary hike. See, one reason can be, yes, of course you have a fear of rejection, but that is not the case. You are stuck with your comfort zone. You need to get out of that comfort zone. One thing is, we all have imposter syndrome to some extent. That is why we are afraid that our skill might not be sufficient. Now understand this, even if you hear no, then you will realize that your skill is not sufficient. So you will decide either to work on your skill or you will decide to switch to another job. In any way, when you hear the rejection, you start working on yourself and being better. Next negative experience is uncertainty. Now the author gives a very good example. I would like to quote that again. The beliefs that 500 years ago people had is not the exact beliefs that we have right now, and it won't be the exact beliefs that 500 years down the line in future people will have. Imagine things that you thought about 10 years ago and the things that you believe right now are completely different. For me, I used to believe that every city used to have a seesaw, but that is not the correct thing. As I grew, I know more about life than before. As I grow, I am less and less wrong every day. That is the beauty of uncertainty. Always have some level of self-skepticism within you. Question yourself constantly. What I am doing, is it right or wrong? See, some people being very certain become very dangerous. That extremist sitting somewhere in the Middle East thinking about they will change the world, what kind of terror they are bringing to the entire world, you already are familiar about. Sometimes having very strong beliefs also acts as negative experience, not only for you but people around you or for the society itself. So always try to question yourself in a more logical or practical way, that what I believe, is it actually right or wrong? Sometimes pursuance of negative experience gives you positive experience, and pursuance of positive experience gives you negative experience. If you are uncertain, bad experience may help you grow, but good experience may make you lazy. Let me give you some examples. You don't know if changing jobs will work out, but staying in the same job is draining you emotionally. You don't know if starting something by the side will succeed, but doing nothing feels even worse. You don't know if speaking up in a meeting will succeed or backfire, but staying silent, you will go unnoticed. You don't know if a relationship will work out, but avoiding connection will always keep you lonely. You don't know if you are good enough already, but hoping that you will become good enough one day and starting later makes you lazy. You don't know if today's efforts will pay off, but doing zero effort takes you nowhere. Let's explore the next theme, which is relationships. The two fundamentals of relationship is honesty and boundary. Honesty is important because whatever you say need to be truth in the relationship. If you keep on lying and lying, then it will be very hard for the other person to trust you if you are not honest with that person. Boundary is important because both of you cannot be available for each other 100% of the time. It is important to understand that and still support each other. In the simplest terms, boundary means saying no when it is required. The author gave a very good example when he was in Russia. People are very blunt, direct to face. If they don't like you, they will say it to your face that they will not like you. It is not like the recent facades in this world that you are acting in front of someone even if they don't like you. Therefore, nowadays it is really hard to find people who you can trust. That is the reason honesty is important in building the trust. Now, what kind of relationship are there? Relationship can be with your family, with your friends, or can be with your partner or spouse. Now, the concepts of relationship, even if different flavors at each of these aspects is different, still applies to all of it. Let's understand two types of relationship. One is unhealthy, one is healthy. In healthy relationship, there is boundaries, there is acceptance of rejections, there is responsibility being taken by both sides. Whereas in an unhealthy relationship, what is seen in majority of the cases is one person is the victim, one person is the saver. Either the girl is trying to save the other person or the boy is trying to save the other person. Whereas the other person is also entitled enough that they do not take any responsibility and play the victim role. In any of the toxic relationship, there is entitlement associated for both the parties. That is part of the unhealthy relationship they have. Now let's understand how to build trust. Be reliable, not impressive. Take responsibility for your emotions. Choose honesty over comfort. Respect boundaries, yours and theirs. Accept that relationships involves pain. Share values, not just feelings. Now, if the trust is broken, there is still a way to build it back. Step 1 is the breaker admits the true values because of which he or she broke the trust. Step 2 is build a solid track record by showing that you have reevaluated your values and come up with better values. Now, breaking trust and rebuilding it is similar to breaking a glass and sticking it back again with glue. Once you broke it, okay, there's a possibility that you can stick back the glass pieces again. Say again you break that glass. The glass pieces will be shattered into even smaller pieces and attaching them will be even difficult. Again you break the glass. Now the glass has almost turned into dust. Reattaching the glass pieces will be very difficult. Similarly, if the person breaks the trust again and again, rebuilding the trust will take even larger amount of time. Therefore, it is better that you never break trust at all. Let's analyze a situation quickly where we simulate two partners both married to each other. Say one partner is not satisfied with their current job and is willing to switch. There are lot of pain associated with that. One pain is definitely struggling with money, second is scaling yourself to a different skill, looking for a job, and that takes some amount of time. When you discuss this with the partner, are they respecting your boundaries? Are they in line with what you want? Because you know your values lies in living a better and happier life which you are not getting in the current job. Now if there is lot of struggle from your partner, that means somewhere you should know your partner is not respecting your boundaries. On the other hand, if they support you in this decision that okay, we will manage it together somehow, then you understand that boundaries are respected in that relationship. Now this not only applies to a married couple per se, but it applies to any kind of relationship where there is some level of dependency involved. Now you can ask this particular question if your boundaries are respected in this relationship or not. The relationship can be any of the following. Say it is friendship. In that case, you can say, if I say no to lending money, do they still treat me as equal? Work. If I say no to extra work, am I respected or guilt tripped? In family, if I say no to a particular tradition, is there understanding or emotional pressure? In a romantic relationship, if I say something uncomfortable, does the trust increases or decreases? If saying no creates understanding, then it's a healthy relationship. If it creates guilt, pressure, headache, trust issues, then it's not a healthy relationship. Now let's look at the next theme, which is social media influence. One thing you have to understand that there is lot of information available in the market now. For a human mind to grasp this much information and still staying calm is a very tough job. That too, when lot of this information is wrong or misaligned with the truth. Honesty in social media age seriously lacks and lot of fake stuff is going on in the market. One of the things that you might have seen in social media is the exceptions. Exception as in somebody earns a lot of money, somebody who has built a great body, somebody jumping off four-story tower, somebody showing off their dress. So lot of this exceptionalism is going on in the market, and many people, including you and me to some extent, do compare unconsciously to these things, that I do not have such a thing. Social media is showing off lot of this exceptional thing. The value of daily boring work is completely gone. You have to understand the true happiness lies in that daily boring activities that we do, whether it is eating healthy or running regularly or working on a small skill that you want to build or pursuing that one goal that you wanted to pursue all the time. Irrespective of what we get at the end, it is the pursuance of these goals, these values, which will give you happiness. One more issue with social media is victimization. Entitlement is so much in the market right now that everybody thinks they are a victim. If there is a new policy that comes by the government, a lot of people will raise issue, even creating false videos that they are the victims. And this happens on a global scale. In many such situations, the true victims who are there, who they are missed out. And people are so accustomed to becoming victim because they are getting attention. That is why they are liking it very much, which again contributes to building a bad society. We should not glorify victimhood, and we should focus on only those people who are the real victim. In this age of social media, so much information, fake news going on, it is very important to verify what source is right and what source is wrong. Now let me talk about the final theme, which is the ultimate reality, death. I will start by giving you a small example from my own experience. It was my grandfather's death. I remember during the last days, a person who used to stick with strict traditions was not at all looking at the portraits of gods and whatever traditions he has believed. That has always made me think, what was it really about? What was it worth it? This much time devoted, but at the end moments, it was all for nothing. Another example I have seen in my own family tree, regret. Before death, many of people do regret of their decisions that they have taken. When they look back at life, they see the things that they could have done better. Now, why I start with this example is understand that the ultimate reality is death. One day, you, me, all of us are going to die. Understanding that is very important. Ideally, there is something called the immortality project. Every person has an immortality project, every society has an immortality project, every civilization has an immortality project. Since we know that we are going to die, that is why we keep on working on things that lives beyond our physical self. Either by building a bridge, either by building a building, by putting your names in front of the building, by writing books. All of these are unconsciously our immortality projects. The inherent fear of death drives us unconsciously. That is why we invest ourselves in these immortality projects. Lot of these wars also that happens are because of immortality projects. At least if you get a self-realization that okay, I am going to die one day, you may go in either of the two directions. There is no point in doing anything, or there is lot of things I can do. Ask yourself this question: what are you going to leave behind when you die? What would be your contribution to the society? Everything that you see around you, starting from a chair to a smartphone, it has been built due to the immortality project of people. Therefore, ask this question to yourself again and again. Are you contributing anything to the society? Are you adding value to someone? Now, all of it starts from within. Think about it. The true immortality project that you have is your values. It starts from there. As you said, good values are those which are immediate and gives a long-term impact. and are actionable, good for the society. So when you are choosing your immortality project, start from working on your values. Keep on asking yourself, how will the world be better or different with or without me? And then choose. Perhaps once you realize that your true values are good enough to keep you happy and keep you going, even overcoming the fear of death, then you will stop chasing the emotional highs. You will stop chasing the temporary pleasures that you get from either doom scrolling or shopping or doing nothing. Here I would like to bring up on the same example that I gave you earlier. I hate reading books. Goes without saying that I like scrolling reels more because that gives me temporary emotional highs. But now, since I have learned all these things, I will try to focus on my knowledge, my growth, my skills by not watching reels and reading books or upskilling myself in some or other way. Now let's talk about freedom. What exactly is freedom? Freedom is not you driving bike everywhere across the city. Freedom is not you exploring the world. Freedom in its true form, meaning you choose what you want to choose. Once you acknowledge that you are going to die one day, you are free to choose whatever you want. Another contradictory example I will give you here. This example is given by the author only. Somebody running a 25-kilometer marathon at the edge of a gunpoint versus somebody running a 25-kilometer marathon on their own. Both these scenarios, they are running 25-kilometer marathon, taking up that much amount of physical pain only. But in one case, somebody is doing at a gunpoint, whereas in other case, somebody is doing in their free will. So the freedom lies over here in choosing the path that you want to go for. Another thing to know over here is freedom in the traditional sense doesn't always give you happiness. For example, if you explore the world continuously, you going from one place to another to another, at some point in time you will anyway get bored. Okay, first time it was very interesting, fifth time it was bit less interesting. If you have done it 50th time, you are almost familiar with exploring the world, and the interest or the happiness or per se the freedom will slowly go down. Whereas the contradicting theory over here is freedom lies in commitment. If you stay in one place, if you stick with one partner, if you stick with one skill, then all other distractions around it are gone. Then you are truly free. I will give you my own example. I have traveled quite a lot in my days as well. But now that I am sticking to one place, I feel more free to explore rather than when I was moving a lot. This kind of concept applies to everything that you do. If you stick to one skill, that means in a way you are rejecting all other skills around you. That means you are free to explore and go deeper in that one skill and be the best at it. I am pretty sure you also have some examples in your life where you have chosen one particular skill or one particular thing with which if you have stuck, then you are able to explore true freedom within it. Understand that if you are going to die one day, why not die doing good things? Why not die working on what values really changes you, brings you happiness? Coming back to the title of the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a is not about being ignorant at all. You should not say, if I am going to die one day, then what's the point? If there is no point, then at least do something. Choose something to do and then die. At least you will contribute something bigger to the society. Another very interesting point that the author has put forth is you are special and not special at the same time. You can definitely say, I cannot be both at the same time, but it is true. Just that the context is different. Let me explain. Why you are not special? Because you are not entitled. If you think about it, people who have a traumatic childhood, people who have gone through some tragedy, they somehow become entitled. They think that the world revolves around them or the world owes them something. They have to understand that their problems are not the only ones to be solved. There are many people like them on this world. That means you are not special. So that is one context. Secondly, why you are special. Doesn't matter if you are a billionaire or not. Doesn't matter if you are a beggar or not. You are special because you have the ability to choose what you want to do. And not many of the people in the world have that. That freedom of choosing how your life will go. The decisions you take, the responsibilities you decide to take makes you special. And pretty much that is what the book is all about. With that, we have covered all the 6 major themes presented in this book. One is observational facts, second, consciousness and identity, third, the counterintuitive belief system, fourth is relationship, fifth is social media influence, and finally, the ultimate reality. Now let's talk about what not to do after watching this video or reading the book. Forget about you ever watched this video or read the book in the first place and go on with your life like nothing happened. Go back to being lazy or procrastinate all the same. Again, completely misses the point of the book. It just feeds your emotional highs. Thinking to justify your ignorance because the book says not to give a that is again misses the point completely. Thinking you are above others or you are the victim, the world is unfair, that beats the purpose of the book in the first place. What to do after watching this video or reading the book? Just sit down for 1 hour. Make yourself a plan for 7 days. If possible, extend that plan to 21 to 30 days also. Write down what you are willing to suffer for. Figure out the imperfections that you have and accept them. Identify a few fake sources of validation that you are chasing. Look at your decisions with self-criticism and try to re-evaluate your values. Take responsibility of at least one action. If you stick to the plan consistently, I assure you, you will see improvement in no time. Now here are a set of questions derived from the book itself that you can ask yourself in any situation. The author has also published a workbook where he has mentioned similar set of questions that you can also purchase if you want. These questions are: what am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this way? What is the underlying assumption because of which this kind of feeling is coming? What is the metric I use to validate this assumption? What if I am wrong? What would it mean if I am wrong? Would being wrong create a better or worse problem than my current problem? How will the world be better or different if I follow my values? Now let's understand these set of questions with an example. I will give you my example. One night I was feeling very anxious. I was not able to sleep because my friend has a higher salary than me. So the first question is, what am I feeling right now? I am feeling anxious, bit uneasy, not able to digest my dinner. Next question is, why am I feeling this now? Because I compared my progress with my friend's earning. That's why I am feeling this way now. Kind of turned it into a judgment also about me. What is the underlying assumption because of which this is coming? The underlying assumption is, I think, success. Somewhere I believe success is more driven because of money. What is the metric I use to validate this assumption? Clearly it is the salary, just a number because of which this assumption, these feelings are coming. Next question is, what if I am wrong? What if money or salary is not the criteria to judge anyone? What if I have a different path? I don't know if it would be good or bad, but what if? Next question is, what would it mean if I am wrong? If I am wrong, it would mean I am playing a different game. Maybe I am not into the right career choice that I am in right now. Maybe happiness is not related to high salary. Maybe success's criteria is much more different than what I am assuming right now. Would being wrong create a better or worse problem than my current problem? Okay, if I am wrong, probably it will create a better problem. Maybe I will look into a skill set where I enjoy myself. Maybe I will start working on that skill set. Maybe I will earn a steady income if I pursue that particular skill set. I think I would more or less worry about my personal growth rather than worrying about salary. So yeah, I think that's a better problem. How will the world be a better or different if I follow my values? Not because I earn more money, maybe if I focus on my skills, I may be able to train some more people. In fact, they may train some more people. I may be able to create a better future by building something new that contributes to the society. So yeah, probably a better future. Maybe help people through my work as well. How the book helped me. Many things that author has said has resonated with me. Somewhere it has helped me strengthen my own values. But that doesn't mean my values are solid. I will keep on realigning my values. I will try to be less wrong every day. I will try to notice my emotions time to time. Hopefully, I will become more practical and logical in the process. This reminds me of example. I'm sorry, I've been giving way more examples. Let me give one more. In front of lot of temples, you might have seen lot of beggars are sitting. People generally pour milk on the deities. Rather than that, if they can give it to the poor and give it to the beggars who actually need feeding, that would be great. That is actually a more practical and logical way to think about. If God really exists, wouldn't he or she want that any food item that you are offering or wasting in a way be given to people who really needs it? So that kind of thinking process, that kind of values is what I want to build in myself. How I will relate my learnings to the real world. See, every development activity starts from yourself. Imagine a world where everyone works on improving themselves, improving their values. You will see automatically the world will become a better place to live for everyone. Now, if I have read the book in my 20s versus in my 30s, in my 20s, I was a chill guy. I didn't have a lot of problems in life. So I doubt I would have made much sense out of it. But now that I'm reading in my 30s, I can actually make much more sense out of the book right now. Where I have a different take from the author. So the author has written the book in his late 20s and early 30s. So I believe as a person also he may have a lot more to discover in his life. So as I. So I will keep on exploring my life and I hope you also do the same as well. A message for Mark Manson. Thank you for you watching this video. Thank you very much. I wish you find your values. I wish you take care of your health. I wish you ask yourself a lot of self-evaluating, self-skeptic questions. If you want to write to me, you can write on thelogicalveer@gmail.com. I will try to reply. The book has another part. I will read that and come back with another video. So stay tuned and take care.